Hello everyone. Today we will study about resource allocation under the project management. So resource allocation helps you to choose the best available resources for your project and manage them throughout the work. So you can avoid under or over utilization of your employees. So resource allocation, part art, part science, as some call it, it recognizes the best available resources for the project, assigning them to your team and monitoring their workload throughout the work, and reassigning resources if needed. So we can say in project management, resource allocation or resource management is the scheduling of activities and the resources required by those activities while taking into consideration both the resource availability and the project time. Here we can see some common challenges of resource allocation. So resource management is engaged to several challenges that you need to be aware of to properly allocate resources and manage them throughout the project. So first challenge is client change. So as a project manager, we can face or experience how changes to the scope, timeline or budget can affect the project delivery. With resource allocation, it's actually the same. Having an up-to-date resource calendar will help you to smoothly adjust resources once the changes appear. The second one is availability of resources. Starting off a new project, ideally you could use any resources you need that are available at your company. But what if your agency is running multiple projects and you have to negotiate over the same resources with another project managers? Or what if a given team member is out of their sick leave? So availability changes and you have to monitor it all the time to spot threats to your project's delivery. The third one is project dependencies. Allocating resources, you need to include project dependencies, which are a form of a relationship between the task or activity in the project. For example, in IT projects, there are tasks that can only be done after some other ones are completed. So there is no point to hog resources early on. The fourth important point is project uncertainties. Even if you have checked all the boxes when starting off a project, agreed on the timeline, the budget and the scope, there are always things you can't predict. So resource management requires you to be able to respond to the project uncertainties. Example, by shifting resources from other project or reassigning them. The last important challenge is prioritize across the company. So if your company runs multiple projects, you and your peers may have to share limited resources, very often in a similar time frame. But even if you manage to negotiate over resources you both need, there may be a change in prioritize regarding one of the project. So resource allocation in a project management, so here we can understand how we can allot resources. So resource allocation is the process of assigning and scheduling resources to the project task, and resources are the lifeblood of project management. Resources are used to carry out the project and are returned to their owners if not consumed by the project. So there are 6 steps to perform a proper resource allocation. The first one is divide the project into tasks. In project management, the project is divided into tasks and managed on the task rather than a project level. Resource allocation is an integral component of this process because each task is assigned the necessary resources and the resources are managed by task. So during the project planning phase, the project is constituent tasks are determined and listed, like each task is assigned a start and end date and the budget. So this is called a work breakdown structure. We have already studied in our previous video, and it is the minimum planning phase for a small project according to the three main project management methodologies. So once the project is successfully divided into tasks, the resources can be assigned. Second step is assign the resources. Each task require resources in order to be successfully performed. So usually the person start with some input material which are used to produce an output. Generally there are five type of resources. First one is labor. So human resource are an integral part of most project, the project team and the management. Then equipment, tools and equipment that are used to produce the product. Then materials that become a part of the final product must be allocated so that they can be procured at the right time and their availability is confirmed. Then facilities. So buildings and work areas are often a significant cost of the project. If they are not ready available, they also require space in the project schedule and budget to ensure that they are ready for the project team. Then miscellaneous resources. So most projects require other resources that impact the budget or schedule. Then determine resource attributes. So each resource comes with attributes which must be sufficient to carry out the project work. So these attributes include grade. So grade refers to the technical specification level of the resource. In this case, the length of the fence post, the depth of the holes and the strength of the fence material are all characteristics of grade. Then skill. So skill is the same as grade but specific to the human resource. Bill and BOB in this case must know how to pound the fence post and be strong enough to drive the post. Then quality and grade are not the same thing. Quality refers to the degree to which the resource meets specification. Then resource specify attribute: size, shape, length, speed, color, strength, etc. Each resource has many specific attributes that define its function. For example, if the paint is supposed to be brown but a green paint arrive on the site, it is probably still high quality as well as a grade, yet not sufficient for the project. Then availability. In the project management lingo, this is called a resource calendar. The resource calendar can range from a simple listing of employee vacation time to material tracking software, but its purpose is to ensure the project resource is available when needed. Resource leveling. So project schedule are usually created without the project resources in mind. That is, the network diagram and Gantt chart are manipulated to minimize the resource schedule duration based on the number of hours or day required to carry out each task. For example, if we need BOB for 2 hours one day and 18 hours the next, we might need to pay him overtime, thereby driving the project over budget. So resource leveling refers to the process of inspecting the resource to ensure their use is as smooth and level as possible. It is a common scenario that is more advantageous to extend the project schedule to avoid large peaks and dips in resource uses. Resource allocate as necessary. So throughout the project, resource reallocation tends to be a constant and inescapable function of the project manager. So resources are scarce, they sometimes do not show up on time, are needed by other projects, or lose their usefulness over the time. Many things can happen that require a shift of resources from the one task to another, or a change in the project schedule or budget. Then the last point is track utilization rates. So it's common occurrence that a resource arrive at a project and site idle for a long period of time. It is equally common that project manager have no idea that the resource is being paid for not being used. A simple solution is to track resource utilization rate. The utilization rate is simply the percentage of billable time. So utilization rate is equal to number of billable hours divided by number of total hours. So here we can understand the importance of resource allocation and important steps of resource allocation. So thanks for watching this